So we're ready to kickstart. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, there has been a glitch with the LinkedIn Live, but we are putting the link in the chat, which we'll put there because there's some people putting a very suspicious link in the chat there on LinkedIn. So please join the YouTube link. That's where we are now. So we're up and we're live. Apologies for the technical delay. There was a bit of a glitch there, but we are ready to go. So my goal for today's session is really that you leave this webcast with an understanding of how to build your social selling system. And it really is a system. It's not about just dabbling on LinkedIn or dabbling on Instagram or dabbling on Facebook. It's about building a system, a rhythm almost that helps it move forward. And I can see in the chat people are joining. So hi, Alicia. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Niraj. Hi, Terry. Brilliant. Everybody's got here okay. So we are all good. There was some technical glitches for a moment, but we're all good. So my goal is to help you see the value and the strategy behind building your expert authority, attracting and converting new clients, and growing and scaling and building out your business. Now, the brilliant, yes, Michael, I was a little bit stressed. Michael's just put in the chat, okay, that's better. Michael, I was a little bit stressed then, technical stuff. So I'm good. I'm glad we're all working now. So my goal is quite simple, really. You leave with a big light bulb moment of going, whoa, this is a massive opportunity. And maybe some of you joining have had all of the pieces together, but a few little linkages have been missing, and I want to join those linkages. Maybe some of you have had a go at this before, and you've just found yourself swamped around a very crowded marketplace. I want to show you and give you some light relief of how this can work for you. So I'm going to move a little bit to the side just so that you can see this, or maybe we'll put it on screen just so that you know where I'm coming from. That's a really attractive picture of me, like. Just so that you can see it on screen. So I've done this with no audience. I've started from scratch. So if you're a small business, or if you're a big, a salesperson in a huge business, I've had to do this from scratch. So no audience and build it up. I've had to learn what works. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here, I'm trying to convey the point that it doesn't matter where you are right now with social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, wherever you are, there is a way to fix this. But I'll come to some of the challenges around this in a second. So I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I'll just say now, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with it. Hello, Martha. Hello, Asha. Hello, Teresa. Happy New Year, Teresa. Hello, everybody. Great to have you here. I've had to DIY this, and there is a temptation to follow all the technology hacks. And I'm going to say something. In our technology-driven world, the goal of what you're trying to do with social selling is not about technology. Yeah, there's LinkedIn in the way, there's Facebook in the way, but actually they're just a bridge. And you can get really obsessed with the technology and miss the fact that what you're trying to do is convince a human being. So if you want to build your business, if you want to build your sales pipeline, it really is about, the goal is to connect you, deepen a relationship for you using LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what have you, using that as a channel to do that goal. If you forget that, you'll hit roadblocks all the way, or you'll find a pattern that'll work and then you'll run out of road. So we are dealing with a technology platform, big tech and all that stuff. And that can be a challenge because, you can't just do what you want when you want. But if you build an audience, we'll talk about something called compound payoff, which is something that works on every social channel. So I've leveraged this for my own benefit. I've not got a big investor behind me. Maverick started, the company who's putting on today's session, started as a one-man band. Yeah, it was a one-person business that today we've got 45 people employed in the business, not freelancers, employed, and we don't need to use ads to generate our revenue. So I'm going to walk you through the strategy behind it. We've got its own name. We've given it its own name because it works across all social channels, because it's not technology or platform dependent. It's about human beings. So there's really two methods to sell via social media. And actually both end in, for most of us, both will end in a conversation with a potential client. So whether you're going down the ads route or whether you're going down an organic route, if you're trying to sell something that is of a high value, i.e. more than £2,000-3,000, you are going to end up in a conversation with a prospect. There are going to be a video call. There is going to be an email exchange of some kind. If you're in an e-commerce business, I don't mean to be rude, but probably a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is not going to be relevant. If you're in the business of selling products and services to a customer, whether that be B2B or B2C, this will be highly relevant for you because it will work, and it has worked across all the channels. So just say hello to a few other people: George Forster, Karen Levitt, and Terry's here. Terry's our COO, and he's in the chat. If you've got questions from what I'm going through today, please do put them in the chat. They come through. I can't obviously see everybody's name here, but I can see some people's names. Please put them in the chat and I'll try and cover them. I've got a lot to go through today. So the other thing I'm going to do, and this is again, is a free thing that you can have. You'll see a little bar below here with like all of our details. So it says Maverick and follow, which is, you know, hint, hint, very nice. And then you've got additional help. At the end of today's session, I'm gonna give you the opportunity. Our kind of social media team are more than happy, and our team here at Maverick, to sit down with you on video for say 15 minutes, if you want to, that is, and we'll walk you through some of this in detail and apply it to you so you can understand it a little bit better. So if you want that, you just email us on the screen. I'll put a slide up about it. There's no obligation. You're not going to get sales pitch, but we will help you understand this a little bit better for your own application. Okay, so the compound payoff, right? And this is really important, yeah, because if you miss this, you will go round and round in circles for a long time with social media. So the benefit of a compound payoff with social media is quite simply this. You build an audience, and that audience will get to know you and will build a level of trust in you. But the downside is that as you're building that audience, you don't know the impact you're creating. So for an example, if you go onto social media, and I'll just give you a really crude example of compound payoff, right? If you go onto social media today and you start posting stuff and you start sharing stuff, the first thing is you'll only know about the people who like or comment. Yeah, you won't know who's viewed, who's looked at it, who's browsed, who's seen your face or your image in the feed. You will not know. You'll only know about a tiny percentage of people who've liked or commented. That's very few people. So go with me here, because this is, when you get going, those likes and comments might be tiny. Some posts you might get nothing. But what happens is there is a residual visibility benefit, even though there's very little engagement. And over time, your activity on social media, you will not know the impact you're having. There's a lag, basically, a time lag between your actions and the outcomes of your actions. And I see this a lot on LinkedIn. People go on LinkedIn, they go crazy, loads and loads of actions, get nothing from it immediately and quit. But we know there is a lag between your action and the outcome of that action. So I'll give you an example. I use LinkedIn as my primary channel, and I built that up from literally nothing. I've changed industries over the years with my LinkedIn. So I had to change my whole network because I had the wrong people connected. But I've had inbound inquiries from people, and I've had inbound sales and leads where it's just been, I know how much it is, tell me how to pay, and I'm done. simply because I've been consistently doing the work, even when I didn't feel like it, and sometimes when I felt like it was a waste of time. And actually what I found is that we never know the influence that we're having. And to really see the benefit, I'm not saying you wouldn't be revenue positive. In a 3-month window, you can be revenue positive. And in a 12-month period, you're starting to feel the real benefit of that compound payoff. In other words, the influence your content and your actions have had on the people you didn't know about. So for every person that likes or comments, there's probably 25 people who have seen it. And if you give up on those 25 people, you miss out. So you never know. The compound benefit, the compound payoff is something you don't see until you consistently apply it. So if you're right now, if you can't devote the time to building your social media channel as an asset, and by asset, I mean, you don't just rinse it every other day because you need a lead. You actually build it into something that actually attracts leads, that appreciates in value, that brings more impact. If you do that, you will be very, very happy in 3, 6, 9, and 12 months' time. But it will take, and this is the hard truth, it will take a bit of a slog for 3 months to really get this flying, to really land your message, build your audience. And you don't need a big audience, by the way, but it will take that time. Now, of course, I've seen people do it quicker, of course. But if I quote to you the quickest, everybody will leave with the expectation it can happen in 3 or 4 days, when in reality, the average person builds it and is revenue positive in 3 months. So the compound payoff is something that people just ignore because they don't consistently apply it, they don't throw everything at it, and they're not there. It may only take you, if you're going to do this with one channel, and I would encourage you to do what I'm going to teach you today with one channel. If you apply this with one channel, I have built off one channel, and now I'm moving to other channels, and I'll show you some of the things I've been up to. In fact, on my Instagram here, I parked my old Instagram that I've had for nearly 10 years. I parked it. 2 reasons, really. I'd built up an audience of people, and I didn't really care for my Instagram properly. So it was a dead asset. It was a zombie asset. It was like that rickety old house that you've inherited. It just wasn't right. So I went back to square one and created a new Instagram from scratch in November. So on the 17th of November, 2021, I created a new Instagram. By the 11th of January, which was last week, I generated 54 leads from Instagram. Bearing in mind, Christmas was in between. No big design team, none of that. I did it all myself with Canva, applying the principles of that I'm going to teach you today. So you can do this, but the compound payoff, the big payoff, and let me just define what that big payoff is for you. Most of you, the big payoff is you're getting inbound. You're not having to chase stuff. You're not having to pursue and hopefully find people to sell to or to onboard as clients. You actually end up with people coming to you. And the more consistent you are, the more you build that audience, the more the payoff, the compound payoff, the more that house price, that asset price increases. Bezos from Scotland here, and I can see Gregory's joining. So awesome that you're all here. So again, please put your questions in the chat. We're going to get into something. I've got a whiteboard here just so that if we have to dig into it in a bit more detail, we can. So just a couple of myths, and maybe we can put this on screen here. The myth is that you need thousands of followers. It's wrong. You do not need thousands of followers. You just need the right people. Yeah, just the right people. So if we think about it like this, you might only need 20 followers to pay you a 5K for your product or service. And that might be it. You might be it. 5K, 20 people. That's all you might need. You might need 100 people to pay you 10K. That's obviously a bit of a bigger job. But what I'm saying is you don't need thousands of people to make 20 sales. Yeah, this is a myth, because what's happened is we've programmed ourselves that the response rate is so low that this is what we have to do. But actually, if we position ourselves in the right way and we use social selling in the right way, we don't need thousands to get 20. We don't need 1,000 people to make 4 sales, and we definitely don't need 20,000 people to make 100 sales. So you don't need that stuff. Now, I've got colorful cartoon slides now. I thought I'd change it up and make it a bit more bright. But I just want to highlight, and I'm sharing the profiles here that I think this will be directly applicable to, and maybe we can go picture in picture so you can see this in more detail. So this strategy will work for all social media channels, but I've excluded what I would classify as the more broadcasty social media channels. So TikTok and YouTube, if you class YouTube as a social media platform. So I've removed those. I'm not saying it doesn't work for those, but it's a different method that takes a little bit more work. With these 4 channels, you can actually reach anybody. So, and the reason this works, this method works, whether you're small business or salesperson, is because it's human-centric, not tech-centric. Yes, we have to work within the confines of an algorithm. It's quite funny, isn't it, really, that some big companies control access to platforms that little companies and smaller businesses need to use. It's nuts, really, that we end up where actually a big company decides what we see. A big company chooses whether we're visible or we're not. So we're going to look at this strategy in detail, and then maybe we've got questions where we can get it applied. So if people want to ask questions about how to apply it, we can do that too. So you don't need to have a big following. Absolutely don't need to have a big following to do this. And again, look, if you want at the end of this session, you go, do you know what? I need somebody to just show me how this would work in a bit more detail on my own profile. I haven't briefed the team yet, but maybe if somebody's watching, they can pop a link in the chat or something for a Calendly link or something for the team. But if not, drop us an email. The email's on screen. So you send us an email, the email's on screen, and they'll jump on a call and go, okay, what's the questions about the session? And then this is how you could apply it to you. So there is an exercise we're going to do in here, but if you want that, I'll probably bob up the slide at the end. If we can bob up the slide at the end, that'd be great. And we'll dig into it. Okay, so I'm going to come at kind of probably run most of these slides picture in picture, because it's going to be hard for you to see this because it's quite bright. So we'll do picture in picture, and I'll pop up in the top left. So social selling is simply using a medium, a channel, to reach people. It's that simple. Use a channel to reach people. So simple. But. You've got to show people and elevate yourself so that people, the right people, the 20 people you need or the 100 people you need, see you as what we call an expert authority. Now, I'm not talking about you being the foremost leader in your field. I'm talking about them seeing you as somebody that knows what they're talking about, and they can engage and relate and believe in what you're saying. In other words, you're not a fly-by-night, you know your subject, and you're a decent human being that they can relate to. So that is the first fundamental that we need to do. Yeah, we have to get people to see us as an expert authority. So how do we get people to see us as an expert authority? Well, I'll give you some elements here, but actually, as we go through the sections, it will build. And so it will build. And so each effort compounds on top of each other. Each slide will compound. So how do we get to be seen as an expert authority? How do we build that relationship with people? So the first thing is we have to understand that we are trying to convince human beings of something. So just telling people things does not work. So if you go onto your LinkedIn and put, I am an expert in this, it doesn't mean people will believe you. Yeah. If you brag on social media, it doesn't mean people will believe you. So what we're trying to do is create a level of credibility with complete strangers. So number one, and write this down. If you're watching now, write this down. The number one thing you have to do to build credibility, and you're going to be, you're going to go, really, is just show up. The more you show up on the platform, the more people see your wonderful face in your profile, the more they will have confidence in you just by showing up. Yeah, just consistently showing up on the platform. Number two, how do you convince people of your expert authority? Show people how you deliver value. So this is the next slide. Show them the difference you can make to them. And I don't mean direct messaging them, telling them. I mean expose, give them a light bulb moment. One of the big things people miss about this point is they forget that actually, and a brilliant quote by one of the General Motors engineers from the 20th century is, if you understand the problem well enough, you have 50% of the solution. So where many business people go wrong is they don't want to give their expertise because they don't want to give the game away. And you might not be selling expertise, you might be selling a product or a service, but actually by helping people understand their challenge and their problem better, you actually evidence yourself as an expert because you understand their issues. So how do you do that? How do you do that when these are complete strangers, or these are people who don't know you and don't know your backstory? So one of the ways you can do it is by sharing content. Yeah, but using that content to diagnose the issues your customers have. Now, we have a free worksheet you can get from this. We call it the One Client Profile. And it helps you understand the issues that your customers might be having that you know you can help with, but helps you understand the root causes of them, but the symptoms of them too. Because human beings often try to resolve the symptoms rather than the root causes. So if you think about this in your scenario, whether it's a product or a service, if you've ever done any cold calling or email outreach, why does it get ignored? It's often because if they open it, it's because the email doesn't seem relevant. It doesn't speak to a need that they've got. And human beings are often looking for solutions to symptoms when really they need a solution to the root cause. So if you are trying to convince somebody that you can help them and show value, you need to diagnose, you need to talk to their symptoms and show them their root cause. You don't need to give them answers all the time. You have to give them that light bulb moment where they fully understand their problem better. That's how you demonstrate authority and expertise, by diagnosing some of their issues. So that's how you can show your value. And notice how I've worded this here. And I love using this diagram of this gap here, but I just want to use it for something slightly different for a moment. So you've got a gap here with my cartoon lady jumping across the gap. But let's just imagine, right, that this side here on the left is the benefits of working for your service, the results that you bring from your service. Yep. This is the current challenges that the customers have. You need to map, and this is where that exercise that you can email us and we'll send it to you for free. There's no problem there. Send it, have it. This exercise is you have to reverse engineer your value is actually the difference between those two positions. Your value is in convincing a customer, showing a customer, a prospect, how you can get them out of these issues, the symptoms, and to the outcome they really want. Now, that might mean that the root cause is actually X or Y, and you have to address that on the way. But what they really want is you to help them find a way to get to the result. And your value is the difference between the result and the symptom. Now, you can't calculate that mathematically. It's something that human beings will calculate for themselves. And as soon as you try and tell them how to calculate it, they don't believe you, because human beings are skeptical of people trying to tell them what to do. So the gap between the pain and the result they want is where your value is. If you're selling £1 million product, but the prospect sees the gap not worth £1 million, they're not going to buy. It's that simple. So you have to find your, what we call your most valuable pain point. And again, the exercise walks you through it. Because when you understand the customer's most valuable pain point, you can speak to that pain. You can produce content to that pain. You can speak to the goals and aspirations and the objectives of the business. And you showcase your expertise by learning to understand that. After all, if you're selling a product or service, whatever it is, to whatever sector it is, you become an expert in solving that problem. Your customer's not the expert in solving that problem, because they're going to solve it once and they might go round and round in circles trying to solve it. You're going to solve it for many different people, whether that's a widget or that's some kind of specialist consultancy service. The principle is exactly the same. So your content, your conversation, your messaging has to be wrapped around this concept of your value, which is the difference. It's not the product. Your value is not the product. Yeah. Your value is not your service. Yeah. If you do that, which is a common thing, by the way, lots of people do it, and lots of people get lost in it and go, why are people not buying? It's not that there's anything wrong with your product. It's not usually that there's anything wrong with your service. I've very rarely met people who have a product that's no good. They have a product, but what happens is they're so focused on making sure people understand the product that they forget that the value is actually by the difference it makes in the customer's business. So where they are and where it will get them, that's the value. So I always talk to our team, and I have it on a little note on my computer. Always look to solve the £1 million problem. The £1 million problem. Now, you can't add it up in that way, but when you're faced with a challenge and when you're thinking about alternatives, you do that. You do some mental arithmetic. In your own life, you'll do this. Mental arithmetic of, does it fit? You know, when I want to buy a new gadget or something like that, I'm imagining, I imagine what I could do with it, how cool that would be, all the good stuff, the outcomes, the benefits. Look, I got a new phone and it does this and I can do that with it. But I also recall all the frustrations of the other one that crashes, or I've got a dent on it, or the screen's cracked. And so I weigh up the difference between those two things against the price. And that's how we do it. So you've got to think about your value as the difference between where they are right now and the result or the benefit or the outcomes that your product or service delivers. That's how you create content. And your job is not to broadcast how amazing your product is. Your job is to broadcast the difference you can make. And so your content, your power, any kind of content you do is all about showing people, wow, Dean can help with that. Dean can help me scale my business with that, because look at, I can see the potential. I can see how that can get to there. That's very appealing content for people who are at the right audience. I was talking to a marketing manager of a big global organization today, earlier this morning, and they are having trouble communicating their value to particular markets, because the principle is the same. They've ridden off their big name, but now as they're trying to get into markets where they're less well known, they have to really show the value of the product. They have to convince people not on the name anymore. It's now on, actually, what will this do for me? And if it does good stuff and they believe in it, they will buy it. Stuart, yes, and Stuart, it's not just knowing the problem that you solve, it's the symptoms within that business that you can solve. Because very often people don't think about the root cause, defective software, or they need to overhaul their CRM, or their servers are broken. They actually look for the quick fix. I said this again to somebody else today. I said, when you're trying to convince a human being, and this is a sad indictment in one sense on human beings, is we don't always, we very rarely think logically. We very rarely take a step back and think about it properly and evaluate. You know this. You've seen customers choose one of your competitors where you know that they won't give them the best value, or it's not the same product, but they do it. Human beings are not logic first. And if we forget that, we miss out. Human beings decide with emotion and justify with logic. They decide with emotion and justify with logic. So I said this earlier to somebody today, and some people will disagree with me, but it's true. Human beings fully understand that there is no such thing as a quick fix. Human beings loved that. Yet, and I said this at the beginning, actually, I said, it'll take you 3 months to get revenue positive. And some people watching it went, oh no, I don't want to wait 3 months. I want it now. And some of you people left. Yeah. I'm sure when we look at the traffic, we'll see when I said it'll take you 3 months, some people left. Why? Human beings love quick fixes, but we know quick fixes aren't the answer. You just look at what goes on around the world. Look at how prospects interact with you. Yeah. We know that this is something we need to do, but can we do this? And so some of your messaging needs to speak to the key things, the symptoms that people are trying to treat. And you use some of your content across social media to educate people that if they try and treat that symptom, this is probably going to keep going. The problem's going to keep happening. I do that through PDFs and swipe files, and I show people tips and strategies, but actually I show them that if they don't do this, that won't work. So yes, Amy, this has been recorded. Drop us an email and we'll send it to you. Yeah, okay. So you've got to get your value across, the difference between where they are right now and where they want to get to. Obviously related to your product. Your product, in this sense, your product is the bridge, but they don't care about the bridge. They care about landing here. They want to land here and they want to leave this bit behind. The bridge, in one sense, your product or service is irrelevant until they start to consider. But the attention, to get their attention, to build their engagement with you, to build your audience, you have to show your value in understanding their pain, understanding their outcome, and showing them a route to the outcome, not your product or service. So then you've got to make clear how you help people. So we call this the 4 corners of your product or service, the 4 corners of your product or service. If you don't make this clear, people don't understand. You might produce the most amazing content, but they don't understand why they should buy from you, what it is, how much it is, and what it is, simply put. So you need to take time to build your offer. Now, this is where some other people will check out. You might go, well, I've got loads of things to say. I've got this, I could do this, I could do that. I want to sell this, I want to sell that. Which one should I pick? If you can't crystallize what you're going to go to social media with, how are you going to expect your audience to learn how they can engage with you? They won't know that they can sign up for your VA service, or they can sign up for your consultancy package, or your coaching package, or your financial services package, or buy your software or subscribe to your software. They won't know unless you communicate it. So you need to be very clear on what you put out into the market so that people can see it, smell it, get a grips of it, how it works, how much it is, all of those things, including thinking about what we call land and expand. In other words, what's the gateway product or service that you have that gets people through the door, they become a client, they're onboarded, and then you can grow that relationship. Just see if there's any other questions here. Yeah. Everybody seems to agree with me on the emotions and logic. So you've got to lay out, this is what we do. This is how we can help you. If you're struggling with this, if you want to get to here, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is what it costs. This is how it works, and you can have it. Not necessarily because people are going to click and, oh, I'll click and buy and all of that stuff. That does happen over time as you build it up. But you have to give people a frame of reference to go, Dean helps people grow their business through social selling. And this is how he does it. So they understand this product and they can see how it will add value to them. So very, very simple. You just have to tell people about it. Then you need a process. You absolutely need a process. And I'm going to kind of try and do this on the whiteboard. So hopefully this will work and you can see it. Charlotte says she loves the term land and expand. Actually, some of the biggest companies in the world operate a land and expand model. Your entry into them as a client is actually through a product that they've deliberately designed or a service that they've deliberately designed to get people from not client to client that they can then sell up to. So a land and expand can be a paid thing, it can be a free thing, but ultimately the best ones are paid because it gets the client in, and then your job is to delight them and upsell them. And it's actually easier to upsell a client who's bought something at a lower value, as long as they're pre-qualified and you've built your audience in the right way, you pre-qualify them and grow it. And just be aware, social media is a route to a call or a conversation. So for the vast majority of people watching this today, live and on the replay, social media is just a route to a call. Very, very simple. So let me just walk through a process. And I'm going to flick to the whiteboard, so I'm going to have to move. But hopefully you can read my writing as well. So if we think about what has to happen, people have to be aware of you, your value. Hopefully you can see this. I'll come out a minute, and your offer. They have to be able to relate, dodgy pen, and believe. So there's three components that they've got to have. I'll go here, sorry, I'll go here. There's three components they've got to have. They've got to be aware, they've got to be able to relate, and they've got to believe. So if I just walk you through some simple things that you can do, and again, like I said, if you want a free strategy session with one of our team, they'll walk you through how this applies to you. Just ping us an email or use the link on the chat for the Calendly and you can book a time. So the awareness is literally, you've got to be visible. Yeah. So if you've got no following, let's say you're starting with no following, you've got to eat the frog and you've got to go outbound and engage with your target audience. You can find them quite easily on Instagram. You can find them quite easily on Facebook, probably a more detailed workshop or training session. Some of you might go, actually, I want to implement this at speed. So, if you jump on a call, ask one of the team about the accelerator program, which will help you do this at speed. So you might have to eat the frog and go outbound to build a following. You have to establish your value and your messaging as part of that process. If you don't, when they come and engage with you, they won't get it. They won't get you. So the awareness is just getting yourself visible. So that means building a following, building a small following. If you need 20 clients in the next 12 months, you don't need thousands of these people. You need the right people. So spending some time at the very outset going, who are these people that I need to be engaging with? Who are these people? Now, let me just say to you, if somebody DMs you right now, you've never heard from them before, you have no idea who they are, you're not going to pay too much attention to their message unless it's hyper relevant. Yeah, like spot on the mark, like psychic. Yeah, that's what so many people are doing on social media. They're hoping if they hit enough people up, they'll convert them. But if you build awareness and they can relate to you, i.e. your profile, your content, your engagement with them is positive, they will engage with you back. And I've been doing this on Instagram. So I'm outbound engaging with my target audience. I'm outbound engaging with people on the platform, and they are engaging with me back. And I'm building the relationships so that people are able to relate to me. Yeah. The first stage is you need to get people to be aware of you. In other words, who this Dean is. He seems like a nice guy. I can understand where he's coming from. I get him. It's very important that people get you. If you're the salesperson, they have to get you. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, if you're not being who you are, people will detect that there's something not genuine about you. So when you see on social media all these people with photo shoots of Lamborghinis, what do you think? Yeah. There's obviously a thriving community of people with Lamborghinis on Facebook, or there's a lot of hired and rented Lamborghinis. Most of us would be suspect of people doing that kind of bragging stuff and go, there's a tiny percentage of people who actually have that. So what I'm saying is they have to be aware of you. So outbound engagement to build that visibility, eat the frog. You don't need to have a lot of followers if you're building engagement with the right people. Yeah, so I've done this on my Instagram, building it from scratch. Outbound engage with people. They need to relate to you, so be yourself, get yourself out there, because it's that people buy from people. They don't buy from brands, not at this level anyway. If you're Starbucks, they do, but if you're a small business or a salesperson, they don't buy from the brand, they buy from you. So they need to get you, yeah, relate to you. Then they need to believe you. So you need to be open, honest, straightforward, share a bit of your personality, because if you don't, people won't get the full vibe and sense of you. Yeah, so you have to get that across. People need to warm to you. The other thing that's interesting about this is when you do this process, guess what happens? Yeah, people become more responsive to your direct messages. Now, if you go and do all of this and then just pitch them straight away, it's over. The reality is it takes between 7 and 11 interactions, depending on the platform and depending on the seniority of the person. 7 to 11 interactions to actually get to a point where this person will be receptive, where this person has seen your content, they've seen your offer, they've got to know you a little bit, where they trust you, that they believe you. Yeah. They don't think bluntly you're full of crap. Because let's be honest, it's really easy to create a social media profile. It's really easy to get all of the buzz around your profile that's all fake. It's really easy to do it, get the buzz going and put the Lamborghini pictures out, and people will part with their money for it. So you have to do something different. You have to be the real deal, and people will believe in you. Then they need to be aware of your value. So you need to not just go promote. You have to expose the pains, give them light bulb moments. We have a formula we call TASTE, which helps people taste your value. So taste your value. So they see it. So that, you know, they see a PDF on LinkedIn, they see an image on Instagram, they see a free resource or something on Twitter or Facebook, or you're contributing in Facebook groups. So they see your value, they see you explaining things that make sense. So they see your value and they can relate to it because it's relevant to them. So it's about their issues, their pain points, their challenges, their goals, their hopes, their dreams, what keeps them up at night, all of that stuff you map out. And there's an exercise we do in our accelerator program, which actually shows you how to map all of this out so you can find the most valuable pain point, but the most powerful message that will actually help you unlock those conversations and generate inbound. So it's all about relating. And then because they've seen you consistently give value, not just a one-hit wonder, not just one night, not a one-night stand. They now believe you've got something to say. They believe you know what you're talking about. They believe you can make a difference. Then the final one is they need to understand what it is you're selling. And I don't mean ramming it down their throats. I mean putting your offer out in your feed, in your posts, and explaining to people, if you've got these challenges and you're looking at these goals, this is how we help. This is the product, this is the service, this is how it works, and this is how much it is. And again, you can do that as a land and expand, a entry-level product that you can upsell, or you could do it as your core offering. But what I would not do is mix your messages or mix your offering, because people will get confused and go, oh, well, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? So again, aware of your offer. They can relate to the offer. In other words, how it can help them. So very much what you're selling, your product or service, has to tie into what their hopes to, what their aim is, and what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to solve. And then the belief is actually they've seen it, they've seen the case study, they've seen examples, they've seen reviews, they've seen the stuff, and they've seen your offer in a consistent pattern through your feed, not every day, of course, because that would just annoy people, that they actually now believe in it. Now, people say to me, and I'll leave that up there, but if you've got some questions here, please put them up, because I've got 13 minutes left before we have to sign off. So if you've got questions, please do. I'm going to flick to the other camera. People say to me, why do you use the word believe? I can understand the awareness. I can understand relating, you know, how they can see how you relate to them, so they see value. Just before I move on, that relatability is the thing that gets you the followers. It's not the awareness, it's the relatability. In other words, can they relate to you? Can they relate to your value? That's what gets you followers. That's what gets you connection requests. That's what gets you friend requests. That's what gets all of that stuff working. It's, can they relate to you and your value? Now, the one word that people come unstuck with or struggle with is belief or believe, because it's a very emotive word, believe, because you can believe things that aren't based on fact. And this is the unpleasant bit that some people, it will rub the wrong way, but I'm just telling you straight. Belief is something that after you absorb information, you decide to, emotionally, you decide to effectively say that's right. Belief and facts are different. Now, I know, and you will know, that on many times, people, you know, politics and all that stuff, you see that people believe things without facts. Now, I'm not saying that you use this in a malicious way, but when you understand human beings, when you get inside how human beings are thinking, you can help shape their belief. And nobody believes anything, nobody buys anything if they don't believe. So everything you do has to be rooted in truth. It has to be rooted in what you do and what you know. But belief is actually an emotional creation based on what they observe and discover. And I'll give you an example of this in another scenario. There's times when you've had a conversation with a prospect or a customer where they've decided to go elsewhere, even though you've explained to them that this is the best way to do something. They go with a cheaper or simpler option. Often, when they know that, when you've told them that this is a bad way to do it, but they don't believe you in that instance, they believe somebody else. Why? Because sometimes people observe the facts around them, they discover things around them, and they choose to rest their decision-making on it, a belief. It's not always based on facts. It's not always based logically. Belief isn't logical. Yeah. Facts are logical because there's evidence for them. But sometimes belief, there is no evidence, or sometimes the evidence is circumstantial. So I'm not saying manipulate people, but you have to accept that there's a difference between convincing people through facts and getting people to believe it. It's not the same thing. Yeah, it's not the same thing. You sometimes, and I'm sure you've got family members over the last 2 years or friends, where it doesn't matter how much evidence comes out, they still believe something that isn't factually true. Yeah. So belief is about people discovering you, discovering your value, and through the process of you putting yourself out there, building that relationship, they come to believe that you are the best option, your product is the best option. Now, that is a highly circumstantial thing. It's down to a human being to decide, but actually just being present and that compounding effect helps people believe in you. So you might only need 20 customers. The key thing is to find the people with the most valuable pain point, the people who have the most urgent need. If you just appeal to people's goals and outcomes, you won't find people in urgent need. And so what happens is you generate a lot of interest, but it takes a long time for that interest to turn into sales and into clients. So what you have to do is focus on the pains and the outcomes together, the symptoms and the goals together. If you don't, you'll attract the people who are not in any urgent need. And so they love what you're doing. They see the value in it, but they don't need you. It's that pain that motivates people to take action. And so you need both together. If you don't do both together, you'll attract the wrong audience. Think of it like this. Yeah. Let's say, for an example, I know that people who shop at a particular supermarket love honey. And I decide to open a shop, a honey shop, on the route to that supermarket. Is it a coincidence that I get people stopping in buying my honey? Or is it something I've learned and studied and researched and figured out? And so I've made a decision. So did I get that footfall for my new shop because of chance? Or did I study my customers on social media, study them and understand what they really want and what they really would like to have, their urgent need? They love honey, so they're passionate about it. There's emotion involved, and then open my shop. It's exactly the same thing. If you speak to particular pain points and symptoms, you will attract an audience that resonates with that message. So the key is pinning that down quickly, and that's why our worksheet's useful. So we've got some questions. Yes, so Ram Kumar's asked the question, what did I do with Instagram? So I went outbound engaging with my target audience. I found people that either were followers of other people or a network of people that I thought would be useful. I then mapped my pain points. So I went, okay, why do these people need me? So I have an accelerator program, which helps people grow their business through social media organically. And we have 90-day sprints as part of the program. So I looked at, okay, what are all the big benefits that people get from it? So they get more clients, they increase the value of their offer, and I listed all of them down that they can get. They build a more sustainable inbound model as well. So I listed all of them down. And then I looked and went, okay, what's all the issues that are going on in that business that they need that? So they don't have sustainable revenue. They have feast and famine. They can't get a steady flow of people asking for their services. They're not getting inbound leads. And I write them all down and I provide content in my Instagram and my LinkedIn that speaks to those needs and talks about the outcomes, speaks and those two together. And so I build engagement. I build an audience who have an interest in those needs. Yeah. So it's a bit like, you're reverse engineering the need and then catering for it in the form of bite-sized content. Yes, if you want a copy of the recording, please do email the address on screen, hi@maverick.io. Email there and we'll send it to you. And we'll send the worksheet if you want it, the where you can work out your pain points. If you're joining us, and we've only got 5 minutes left, so if there's any more questions, yes, Ashwar puts it really well there. look at your product authority information and find out who will benefit from it with the pain point. Yeah. You just have to reverse engineer. And once you do that, it's about consistently deploying it. So yes, there's an email address on screen, hi@maverick.io, and send your email there, and we'll go with it. So if you want any, we call this process, by the way, I've jumped a slide here, but we call this process market priming. So you're priming your audience that you are the answer to their problems. Someone said, it's very much like Inception, if you've seen the film Inception. What you're doing is you're planting the idea that you are the answer to the problem. And I said, exactly right. And that's what all good marketers and all good business owners that are building a business are doing. They're planting the thought that you are the answer. So we call it market priming, which is helping people understand you, your value, and your offer, and implementing that in sprints on social media so that you get more clients, raise the value of your offering, and never have that feast or famine. So if there's any more questions, please feel free. Please drop your email us. Don't put your email in the chat because we can't access it after the replay. hi@maverick.io, drop us an email and we will do it. If you want a strategy session with our team, there's no obligation. You're not going to get pitched, but it will help you crystallize how this can work for you. And again, the only thing we ask is if you get value from these sessions, go and shout about it on social media. Go and Trustpilot us and say you got value from it, or follow us, subscribe to us, all that stuff. That's all we want, really. And if there are people who go, do you know what, I need these guys' help, cool, that would be brilliant. So if there's no more questions, thank you for joining us today. We have sessions every single week, so you can join us every single week and get a different topic and a different training. Please do go do that. You know, likes, comments, subscribes, and tell people that you've had a great training session. That's brilliant for us. And again, if you want our team's help with a free strategy session or free strategy review, jump on. They'll do 15 minutes with you, walk you through the social profile, and show you some of the things that will help you unlock this and implement this quickly. So thanks for joining us. I'll see you on the next session, and go implement this.
Past year, Maverick has helped generate more than 15 million in new business. The biggest reason for this is our 90-day training and implementation platform we call the Accelerator Program, where we teach your team to sell on social media with an implement-as-you-go strategy. It's not a pre-recorded course, it's hands-on sales training that develops and grows with you, with 90 days of real action that generates business and long-term revenue. So who is it for? This program is for entrepreneurs, marketing and sales professionals who want to sell without ads, cold calling, or pushy tactics. A better way of selling with real steps to take, which speeds up your sales process without burning any bridges. These are just a few examples of results our members have achieved using the Accelerator. As you can see, the Accelerator isn't about quick wins, it's about building a better sales process. If you'd like to learn more, just book a call with the Maverick team and we'll show you how the Accelerator program can win you new business.